So I don't know about you, but I love how mainstream media is scrambling, trying to figure out what in the hell is happening in politics today. And it's funny because a lot of these politicians, they spend a lot of time speaking and getting all this information from their handlers, from think tanks, from focus groups, and from campaign strategists. And all they really need to do, all they really need to do is listen to the people. It is not complicated. So now you have places like CNN, like genuinely confused on why all these democratic socialists with their crazy tweets and all are now winning. And don't let nobody fool you. These are big victories. This is something you can't just ignore. Because if it was, we wouldn't be talking about it right now. And for so long, these politicians have been trying to force their policies down our throat, trying to tell you and I, what's best for us. And now we finally have politicians that are willing to listen and craft policies that best fit what we need, what we want, what we demand. And now it's like the end of the world. So let's go ahead and turn to CNN because you know it's going to be those people that seem to not get it. But trust me, I got you. And we're going to break this down like a fraction. Let's get into it. Hey, just real quick, are you a progressive? And are you looking for a progressive community that you can speak with like-minded people in regards to politics and what's going on in this country? Well, just a friendly reminder, I have a Discord that I am trying to actively build with like-minded progressive people. So if you want to talk to myself or other like-minded people, if you agree with me or even disagree with me, I have an open door policy for a reason. So go ahead, click the link down below, join the Discord, and let's have that conversation. Back to the video.
Primaries, they're also taking leadership positions in American cities. New York is the latest example, as all of Zohran Mamdani's endorsements won their contest, sending the establishment into a tailspin. Former DNC chair Jamie Harrison, without naming names, argued online, quote, "If you hate the Democratic Party, then please don't run for our nomination." He said, "Don't use the party's resources, volunteers, and infrastructure." And he added that if you don't believe in the party, then don't ask its members to carry you across the finish line.
Wow.
An hour later, he clarified that he doesn't care if you're a progressive, a moderate, or a conservative, but he highlighted that there was always an understanding that building a stronger party was part of the job. Senator Chris Murphy
is part of the job, but yet he's telling progressives, if you don't like us, you can't join. But yet, like I said in previous videos, they will go out of their way to try to finesse and cater to Republicans, like the Cheneys, like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson. They will go out of their way to cater to them. But for progressives, no, we don't want you in the party. If you don't like us, then don't use our no. I'm sorry. That's not how this party works. We're taking over. But okay, let's continue.
That building a stronger party was part of the job. Senator Chris Murphy responded to that, arguing that the party is the voters and that leaders need to listen to the voters who are demanding that the party be bolder. Joining us now in our fifth seat is Jumaane Williams. He's the public advocate for the city of New York. And Jumaane, I wonder if, just to respond to what Jamie Harrison is saying, is he right to say, if you're not a card-carrying Democrat, get out of our party, don't even bother running?
First, I start off every sentence with Nixon 5, so I just have to put that out there.
Okay.
But the truth is, he's incorrect. Like the whole context is wrong. And we keep pretending somehow that the people in power in a lot of places were not folks from outside who came into the party one way or the other, didn't like what was happening, said, I'm going to try to make some change. And that's what's happening here. And quite honestly, what we see happen in New York City It's to me an extension of what happened from 2008, where people who may not have even bought a black toothbrush voted for Barack Obama. They then voted for Donald Trump. There are people in New York City who voted for Donald Trump and AOC. People have been
Zoran
saying,
Mamdani
that's
after
correct.
that, yeah.
There are people who are saying, we don't want the status quo, we don't want the same message and the same messenger. The party leadership that I belong to has rejected that time and time again, and every decision they've made has led us to Donald Trump, and every decision they made have led us to this point. So my hope is that the party will finally say, let's listen to some messaging that is actually working. Messaging that pushes back against the divisiveness that we've been seeing and hearing.
If there's one thing.
And he makes a good point. There is this weird, I voted for Obama, then I voted for Trump, then I voted for AOC, but then at the same time I voted for Trump. Some of these people are crazy. I give you that. There's a lot of crazy people out there. But I would like to chuck it up to it, and this is just me speculating, okay? There's a lot of desperate people that they are willing to vote for the craziest person in hoping that will shed a little relief on their lives. And yes, our government is here to serve the people. That's what we expect from our government. It's some sort of relief. Not to give everybody a mansion and a Ferrari, but a little relief. And unfortunately, obviously, Republicans are not doing that. Currently, obviously. But Democrats, for decades, have been slipping. They haven't been doing their job. And that's why you have this confusion here. They vote for Trump, but then they're voting for AOC. They don't know what to do. So, yeah, he's correct.
A political party is going to do, it's to protect the political party as it currently is. And the people who know that the best are perhaps Republicans who experienced it vividly in 2016 when Donald Trump ran for the nomination, and he ran as an outsider, and he shook up the party, and he dispensed with all the establishment types, and then he took over the party with all of his extreme views on all sorts of things. And I call them extreme because that's what Republicans called them at the time. So, I mean, this is actually, in some ways, kind of a Trump playbook.
Well, except Trump wasn't trying to, bring about the downfall of Western civilization like some of these socialist candidates are in the Democratic Party.
So let's just be clear about that.
Yeah, it is, once again, listening to a Trump supporter is like talking to children. Like, you just got to sometimes just laugh at what they say. They believe the tooth fairy is real. They believe Santa Claus is real. So for Scott punk-ass Jennings to say, yeah, socialists want to end Western civilization while Trump is literally actively doing that, it's hilarious. It is funny. When I first heard this, I laughed. I'm like, really? Really? A Trump supporter is telling socialists what they want to do is destroy America? I'm just saying, last time I checked, it wasn't a socialist that made my ground beef $35.62. It wasn't a socialist. It was Donald Trump and his war. But okay, continue.
And so, I mean, look, I'm not a Democrat, but I've been amused at the infighting in New York City today. And some of it is pretty powerful constituencies. I saw a video last night in one of these victory parties of a room full of young white socialists screaming at a television with Hakeem Jeffries on it, who's poised, by the way, to possibly become the first black Speaker of the House, going, "You're next, you're next, you're next." Not a great look for the party. I saw that Mamdani went after the head of the Hispanic caucus as well. I see Tish James is even mad at Mamdani. So there's a lot of splits.
All of a sudden, Republicans are so into identity politics. I'm shocked.
I'll say this.
I am shocked.
A few things here. First, a lot of times in campaigns, we see politicians endorse other candidates, endorse politicians, and that's all they do, right? You get a press release that says so and so just endorsed me. No, this. I would say, Mamdani and his team, which have figured out the formula in New York City, not only endorsed, they campaigned with these candidates. His team was working with these candidates, the team that was so effective in working on social media and getting voters out. Also, let's remember that it was, I think, something like 5% of eligible voters that showed up to vote in yesterday's primary. So very few votes made a very big difference.
I was on the ground speaking to voters. So let me say, it is usually a very few amount of people who make a decision anyway. So the pretending like that is
it's a party primary.
That's correct.
That's
but I want to be clear. On the ground, what people cared about is affordability. What people cared about was feeling safe and what that means in their community. What people cared about was healthcare. So the construct is incorrect, because I think people care about that across the country, definitely in New York City. What the Republican Party has been able to do is say that you don't feel safe, you don't feel like you can afford to pay here because of people you may not like, whether it is trans, whether it is immigrants. What Mamdani and others, by the way, there's always been an issue with class and race when it comes to the left, and we have to address that. But what they have been able to do, that the reason that you can't live in New York City is because of an exploitive economic system. And that economic system is what needs to change.
But can I ask?
Beautiful. Beautiful. Perfectly said, Mr. Williams. Republican strategy is to, hey, shift the blame. Don't look at the top. Don't look at this capitalistic system that is on hyper exploitive mode. Don't look at that. Don't look at the first trillionaire. No. Blame it on trans people. Blame it on gay people. Blame it on black folks. Blame it on immigration. Blame it on everybody but the people who are consolidating the wealth, consolidating the power. And once again, that's not going to work anymore. It's going to work for the dummies, the idiots, but it's not going to work for people that can just simply pull out their phone, Google a little information, and be like, oh, that's kind of weird that Democrats and Republicans are getting paid by these corporations, these lobbyists, big pharma. And I wonder why healthcare hasn't gotten better and I'm paying more, or why my wages have not kept up with inflation. Oh, that's kind of crazy, right? People are starting to wake up and smell the coffee. Hey, smell the coffee. And this is what you get. A takeover of the party. This is what they call a hostile takeover, right? I'm just saying, I'm all with it.
Can I ask? Because I thought, to me, Nydia Velasquez is a progressive.
Yeah.
She is, she's most definitely, and she was in Congress for 34 and a half years.
Correct.
She endorsed somebody to replace her, and that's who Mamdani beat yesterday. Mamdani's candidate beat yesterday. To me, Adriano Espaillat, the first Dominican to be elected to Congress, was an undocumented immigrant. Also, I don't see them as moderate.
Nydia's legacy should have been more respected. Let's just be clear about that.
And once again, we got to be real careful who we're calling progressive. I seriously heard some progressives like a year ago call themselves progressive. Republicans calling themselves progressive. So we got to be careful with this term. Words mean something. I know a lot of people don't like labels and wish we didn't use them, but unfortunately, labels mean something. And we got to make sure words are being used properly. And a progressive is only defined by the policies that they advocate for. You can't be a moderate or a neoliberal prancing around as a progressive and you don't support progressive policies. I'm sorry. And if you've been in Congress for 30-something years and you haven't been, I'm sorry, it's time to replace you. Those seats, those positions don't belong to you. They belong to the people. And if they feel that you're not doing your job, you're inefficient, I'm sorry, you're fired. Okay?
And she was the first. She was the first member of the New York Congressional Caucus to endorse Mamdani.
What Republicans has been good at is making these labels, even though people don't know what they are. And so what I do know is there's a lot of agreement about what people feel and want to be able to afford where they live and want to feel safe and want health care. When we decide these labels, the biggest thing to me about yesterday and the way the direction we have been going is who is going to use their political capital to push past the normal ways of doing business in politics. And that is what voters are saying. I want the person now who is going to push past, I guess the best way to put it may be respectability politics, which we do need, but push past that. So when I get a phone call from a leader of a legislature, or I get a phone call from the executive, I'm going to push past that and say, this is what my constituents.
Over the past 8 months, all of you in this room know how much the Democratic machine has tried to count us out. How at every turn they've underestimated us. And in the words of Shirley Chisholm, even if the establishment machine has done everything in its power to keep our community from having a seat at the table, well, I have some bad news for them. We've brought folding chairs.
All right.
I mean,
the establishment machine, she's going after them.
We're still in the anti-establishment element of our political history, I suppose, in our country right now. But to me, if I'm a Democrat, I'm really wondering, and I'm really concerned about this going beyond just New York, beyond Washington, D.C., because I can assure you,
Yes.
We're going to make the argument to voters, you can either be for less taxes or the party that wants to tax you more, because if you're going to say everything's for free, that money has to come from somewhere.
Well, it already is happening all around the country.
Run the risk.
And that is hilarious. And yes, I voted. I actually turned in my ballots today. Well, depending on when you're watching this. And yes, there is quite a handful of progressives that I voted for. Yes, of course, I vetted. I looked them up. I've been actually following their, trail for a few months here. And yes, progressives coming to a state near you. And that is the point. I want you to be concerned about that. Now, obviously, what he's saying is a lie. Oh, we just going, no. I want a wealth tax. But that's a whole nother conversation. But yes, he is right. And he should be concerned. He should be scared.
You run the risk of pushing out a lot of highly successful people.
I think what the people like Zoran Mamdani are putting on the table is, do we need a more fair economic system where people at the bottom can do better and not just people at the top? And the reason that message is resonating is because it is a fact that economic inequality has been supercharged in the last 10, 20, 30 years in this country. So that is a fact that's irrespective of where you are in this country. And I think that's why there is a real question of, it's not about, are you going to run socialists everywhere, but is the anger against the establishment, the anger against an economic system that is leaving people worried about what they put in their gas tank and how much money they have for it, is that anger going to fuel candidates that speak to it versus the candidates who just want to maintain the status quo?
Beautiful.
I would say that one of the things we learned last night is that past the very friendly smile of Zoran Mamdani, he is a ruthless tactician and an ideologue who wants more people of his ideological bent elected, and he's not satisfied with just being. And he doesn't. Many of
Velasquez endorsed him.
Why do they make it sound so evil, so sinister? Like, it makes me almost feel like the bad guy. Which, you know what? To be honest, I honestly don't mind. I honestly don't mind being a bad guy. If you want to paint me as some evil villain, the hell, go for it. But Zoran, he's not just happy with his win. No, he's trying to take over New York City. Gee Willikers. He wants to take over and then, can you imagine? Democratic Socialists taking over Colorado, taking over California, taking over Maine, taking over Michigan, taking over Philly. Yes. It is time to take over the world. That's what I'm saying. First is New York, then it's the United States, and then it's the world. So be careful, be ready, because we coming. I'm just saying.
And the
other thing that from last night is, to quote my friend Whoopi Goldberg, I would say to Chuck Schumer, dude, you're in danger, because this, I think, puts a lot of wind in the sails of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to challenge him.
Economic concerns that got Dan Goldman banned from that coffee shop in Brooklyn?
I think, first of all, that was horrible, and so I want to make sure I lift it up. Dan Goldman is a gentleman as far as I'm concerned. I also think it was horrible the anti-Haitian and anti-Black rhetoric, and anti-Muslim rhetoric that occurred with the Chevalier race. But I do think economics is at the root of it, and equality.
In that
is there.
specific instance,
But
you think it had anything to do with
highlight a lot of
economics?
specifics, but we need to look at what's happening.
I just want you to admit what was actually behind these congressional races.
Well,
We're talking all around it.
No, we're not. What was behind those races was that people can't afford to live, and the inequality that
Don't want to
exists in
admit
different spaces.
All right.
Okay.
He said you don't want to admit it. No, I'm sorry. Stop the fear mongering. I don't care. What I do know is what's happening now is not working. And I said this plenty of times. Voting for someone is like a gamble because you honestly don't know what they're going to do. Honestly, let's be honest. You voted for Mamdani. You don't know what he was going to do. You don't know his mind. You don't know his heart. So obviously, people, there's Fettermans out there. You don't know what they're going to do. I give you that. But what we do know is that the status quo has not been working. We know that for a fact. We don't have to speculate. We got the data. We got the numbers. So I'm willing to put it all on the line for progressive values, for progressive policies, for this democratic socialist movement. I'm willing to do it. Because what's going to happen? I'm just going to have to work 70, 80 hours a week again still? Healthcare is still going to be unaffordable? What's the worst thing that can happen outside of Donald Trump? You see what I'm saying? So the fear mongering is not going to work. And like Tupac said, expect us to come like you expect Jesus to come. That's simple.
I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Hey. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy. Extra, extra. Fuck with me, you